Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tucker Carlson time. We got two Tucker segments and they're 15 and 16 minutes. I really don't want to spend 31 minutes listening to. Really? Well, the Democrats have chosen to make this clearly an unfair world for us white people. And why is that? Well, we're not listening to all that. I just want to see what points he's about to bring up before I, lose my brain. So, Biden raises your taxes while he dodges his own. I wonder what this is about.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, if you dutifully watched Joe Biden sputter through his announcement of the administration's $2 trillion infrastructure plan yesterday, you may have been left with some questions. First, and most obviously, is this really about infrastructure? Bridges, roads, airports, things we could actually use?
That's infrastructure.
Or is it yet another weird climate scheme / power grab / race-based redistribution plan? What exactly is this? And by the way, $2 trillion sounds like a lot for anything. Won't that kind of spending cause hyperinflation?
Bro, I'm 35 seconds into this. 35 seconds into this. And I'm already mad as hell. I'm already mad as hell. So people going to click on it and be like, well, why are you mad? Why did he say it? It's weird I got to explain everything. Like, that's the one thing I hate about YouTube comments. For some people, you got to explain everything to them.
Left with some questions. First, and most obviously, is this really about infrastructure? Bridges, roads, airports, things we could actually use? Or
that's literally what the infrastructure bill is. Like, you read the thing, you see where the money's going. I don't know how you would fathom. Oh, he liked my tweet. And that just came in the middle of the segment. He liked my tweet though. He likes my tweet. Let's go. He's noticed me. He's noticed me. Now all you gotta do is hit the follower. All you gotta do is hit the follow, Philly D. That's all you gotta do, bro. Anyway. Yeah, read the bill. Like, I hate armchair Twitter people who say this too. Do you know what's in the bill? Read the thing. Why don't you guys, take 5 seconds out of your day, shut the fuck up about tweeting about it, and just read the thing. Oh, you don't want to read it because you don't like reading long bills. Oh, so this is all conjecture, right? Well, guess what, guys? I read the fucking bill. You know why I read the fucking bill? Because for some strange-ass reason, I thought it would be better to read the literal text as opposed to conjecture a random assertion and have a standpoint on what this bill actually does. Ain't that about the weirdest shit you've ever heard in your life?
Or is it yet another weird climate scheme / power grab / race-based redistribution plan? What exactly is this? And by the way, $2 trillion sounds like a lot for anything.
You mean like the $1.9 trillion we spent to recover the economy?
Won't that kind of spending cause hyperinflation?
No. No, it will not, Tucker. And it's like, I think you know that it won't, but 35 seconds in, we've returned back to this point. And you can see how if he were beaming this into somebody's house who didn't care to pause it and just heard this shit, they would go on the Democrats are doing what? With what? How dare they spend my tax dollars on this bullshit race-based? They're always doing that random shit. Why don't they do something to help us? Also, it don't even matter what we do. As long as you still have people like this on air who continue this narrative, yes, narrative, because for some reason, it's like anything left-leaning is a narrative, anything that's right-leaning is the truth. Kind of weird, kind of sounds a little Hitlerish, but maybe they would fall for it a lot easier because it's a lot harder to distinguish why somebody would just get on television and lie. Remember that Arthur meme? Who would do? Remember Buster? You really think somebody would just do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies? No, Buster. Everybody who ever touches the internet is going to be 100% honest, and it's going to be one of the greatest worlds we've ever had. Yeah, I wrote it myself.
If you print money like it's not worth anything, doesn't the value of that money decline?
Fuck you. Fuck him. Fuck you. Fuck him. Fuck you. I can't believe you did it. You used the thing I just said as an extra talking point. Oh, there's a piece of hair on the ground. I'm in the middle of a segment and I'm like, there's a piece of hair on the ground. Do you get why this is hyper inflammatory speech? Because he's saying what's not happening, tying it into something that's really happening, and creating non-issues out of it. Now, yes, you could say the classic line. Fox News won a lawsuit saying nobody would take Tucker Carlson seriously. That don't fucking matter. He's still on air. Like, winning a suit that says he's an entertainment person doesn't mean he's not talking about real shit. Like,
normal people may have had questions like those, but thankfully the New York Times was on the scene to quell all doubt. The New York Times approached Joe Biden's plan with the enthusiasm of Izvestia, applauding yet another record Soviet potato harvest. Quote, Biden plan stresses jobs, roads, and growth, read one of the New York Times' 4 separate front-page headlines this morning. $2 trillion for once-in-a-generation fix of infrastructure, read another headline. That's real. Ron Klain, the tech lobbyist turned White House chief of staff, was so grateful for the backup from the Times that he tweeted out the front page this morning. America, let's go win the future, Klain wrote. Let's go win the future, America. What does that future look like? Well, let's be clear from the outset that this plan, whatever its merits, will not make your commute easier. Only about 5% of that $2 trillion will actually go to roads and bridges. So 5% on infrastructure, 95% on social engineering. That's what Joe Biden calls a once-in-a-lifetime.
that's $95 billion for fucking roads, you six. Hold on, is that 95 billion or 95 million? That's $95 billion is 5% of that. 95 billion. How much do you think roads cross, you fucking dick?
Infrastructure bill. And he's right about part of it. It is once in a lifetime. If this bill passes, the next generation will live in a very different country. Now, before we tell you what's in the bill, one word about who's going to pay for it. In fact, we only need one word, and the word is you.
No. If you are a Tucker Carlson fan, I'm going to break this truth for you right now. What he just said is a pure lie. No. You, the person that odds on are watching Tucker Carlson, has jack shit to do with this funding. I'm just going to go on that for you. Like, I promise you.
Taxes are going up dramatically. And they didn't have to, actually. Tax revenues no longer fund the ambitions of our political class. Have you noticed? The Federal Reserve funds them. When politicians want something, they just print the money. It's called modern monetary theory. They've been doing this for years, and it's accelerating. So there's no actual reason to raise taxes anymore for anything. But Joe Biden wants to raise taxes to punish you, and he plans to do that. The administration is calling for a tax increase of about $3 trillion over 10 years. That includes taxes on individual income and investments, as well as on corporations. This would make
No, the tax hike is on corporations and wealthier individuals who are using the tax code to escape like paying their fair share in taxes. And if we were to tax the billionaires and the corporations at the correct rate, we could pay for this with ease. He's fucking lying. We're going to go a little bit further into it and then in the next one. I'm going to make both these segments the same just because, like, that's bullshit.
first major tax hike in 28 years. But it's actually
The first major tax hike in 28 years. Explain why it's the first major tax hike. Because the rate was so high that we started dropping it lower and lower. And now that we're even thinking about going back up, it's a problem.
a much bigger tax hike than anything we saw under the Clinton administration. In 1993, taxes amounted to only about 0.5% of GDP. This plan would come to roughly 3 times that, about $300 billion a year. That's 1.3% of GDP. So you'd have to go all the way back to 1968 to find a bigger tax increase.
Yeah, he's going to bring it up, but watch he explain it away. I already said, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm, like, intelligent and, like, that guy's a fucking idiot. But that guy's a fucking idiot. Because if I could figure that out before you said it, then I know how you're going to spin this. But I wonder what he's going to say. I wonder if he's going to explain away that specific time where we raised the taxes on the wealthy.
Big deal. You have any questions? No questions allowed. Joe Biden doesn't want to answer questions, and he doesn't have to because it's an emergency. In emergencies, you do what you're told.
Taxes are about to go up dramatically. With headlines like that, it's easy to scare people. I'm here to tell you, you shouldn't be scared because it has nothing to do with you.
What I'm proposing is a one-time capital investment of roughly $2 trillion in America's future, spread largely over 8 years. Put simply,
Spread largely over 8 years.
these are investments we have to make. We can afford to make them. Or put another, we can't afford not to.
All this can be yours, America, for just $2 trillion. We can't afford not to spend $2 trillion, says Joe Biden, like the used car salesman he is at heart. Biden knows he's not going to be paying a dime. People like Joe Biden avoid taxes. Joe Biden avoids taxes, in fact. In 2017 and 18, Joe Biden and his wife dodged payroll taxes on more than $13 million that they got through speaking fees and book royalties. How'd they do that? Did you do that? You probably didn't. They did. The Wall Street Journal reported that the Bidens, quote, classified the income as S-corporation profits rather than taxable wages. Are you surprised? Oh, come on. Corporations are going to pay for it. Yeah, if only. We'd support it if that were the case. But they're not. Corporate interests put Joe Biden in the White House. They design his policy. They sign off on every part of it, just as the credit card companies in Delaware once did. And so they'll be fine. Corporations shelter...
He's correct. He's correct there. See how he blends truth into hyperbole? He's correct there. Joe Biden did that. Joe Biden has to answer for that. That's correct. That's a great hold. That's a great point. Thank you, Tucker, for actually bringing out some real shit. However, that's a tax loophole that everybody uses. And now that like, I hate this. Like, do you think he's not going to incorporate that tax on himself? Like, he used the loophole that was in the system during the Trump administration. If the Trump administration didn't like that, then perhaps they would have plugged that tax hole. But they did not.
Most of their money from taxes, a lot of ways. And when it costs, they pass the costs along to the workers in the form of lower wages and to customers in the form of higher prices. That's not a secret. Economists know that, and so does Joe Biden. So none of this is going to hurt Amazon. That's why Amazon's for it. But Joe Biden isn't interested in getting into the details like the math.
Amazon isn't for it because then it's not going to hurt anybody. Like, that's a weird, warped way of looking at it. Amazon is into it, or I should say Jeff Bezos is in support of it because he's trying to knock out the bad PR from, you know, people having to pee and shit on trucks. Like, tiny bit of nuance would literally make you a good person.
Math. He'd like you to know this bill is going to turn America into a scene from the Jetsons.
Imagine what we can do, what's within our reach when we modernize those highways. You and your family could travel coast to coast without a single tank of gas on board a high-speed train.
We've been talking about high-speed rail for the longest. Other countries already have it. Why don't we? How are we the richest nation and we don't even have like the basic shit that like other nations have? Like they have 30% of our GDP and they figured it out. We can't like spend a little bit extra and like do the same thing.
We can connect high-speed, affordable, reliable internet wherever you live. Imagine knowing that you're...
I'm sorry to keep like shilling for Joe Biden, but that's correct. Imagine if we all had broadband internet, high-speed internet during the COVID pandemic. Oh, so all we need is the laptops. We don't have to pay for the internet. So in case something like this were to ever happen again, in which a deadly virus or something even worse ravages, we could all still be connected and we wouldn't have to worry about it.
You're handing your children and grandchildren a country that will lead the world in producing clean energy technology and will need to address one of the biggest threats of our time.
Climate change.
That's what we'll do.
Flying cars?
Yeah, how did you hear flying cars from that? Where did you get flying cars from that? You see what I'm talking about? Hyperbole. Nothing of what he is saying is making logistical sense, but he's on a cable television show saying this shit for entertainment.
Teleport machines? Sadly not. But we are going to modernize those highways. And honestly, a lot of them could use it. But what does modernizing highways mean exactly?
What does modernizing highways mean exactly? It means, motherfucker, that we're going to modernize highways. It's in the word. The thing is the thing. The word is the word. How are you confused as to what's going on here? They pay you a lot of money to have a stupid face.
What are the details in that? Well, the Washington Post gave us some idea. According to the paper, an activist called Amy Stelly has been demanding the removal, not the building, the removal of a highway in New Orleans that cuts through her neighborhood. She thinks that highway, called the Claiborne Expressway, is bad. It's an eyesore and it contributes to pollution in her neighborhood.
Yeah, it does. Like, literally, that's why highways in certain neighborhoods, like, guys, if you have more cars driving through your fucking neighborhood, you think your air is going to be as clean? Like, the dumbest human being on earth could make that connection.
And for years, she's demanded that local leaders get rid of it, but they've refused. People use it. It's an important stretch of road in New Orleans. But now the White House and Joe Biden's infrastructure plan have decided that highway is an example of, quote, historic inequity.
Yeah. Yeah. Redlining. Yeah. Neighborhood planning. Yeah. Why would you stick it? You wouldn't stick a highway in the middle of Calabasas.
And that can be solved by billions in new spending. In other words, it's a racist highway, so you've got...
Oh my God. I knew he was going there. I knew he was going to fucking go there. I knew he was going to say it, and I didn't want him to say it because I didn't want to have to, like, no. That is a lie. That is an objectional... You'd have to force yourself to get to that point. If you are watching this on YouTube right now and somehow you agree with anything that he said thus far, seek help, because he's lying literally the entire time. He said the one true thing, easy to concede to, but look at the point he made from that. Now it's a racist highway because historic inequity happens to disfavor minorities. So he's linking that to create, excuse me, the idea of a racial trope that somehow instead of just saying, yeah, that's a problem. I wonder why we keep sticking like oil plants and gas plants and other shit in bad neighborhoods. Bad neighborhoods. Underfunded neighborhoods. I wonder why the people who live in those underfunded neighborhoods generally are poor. Why don't the rich people move to these areas and make them... Oh, that's gentrification. So it forces the rent to go higher. So they don't do those things because they know rich people don't like them. So wherever the poor people move, that's where those opportunities and certain things come from. Oh, I get it. I get it. Tucker Carlson's a piece of shit. That's what it is.
Got to pay to tear it down. Amy Stelly was enthused by this. I'm floored, she said. I'm thrilled to hear President Biden call out the Claiborne Expressway as a racist highway. Yeah, and not just racist, sexist and transphobic too.
Where is that in the quote she said? I'd have to look at the context of the quote because I just made that connection myself, to which I'm not going on the hyperbole train and saying, yeah, that's a little bit too much of a stretch, because you can make it into that argument. But how the fuck did you get transphobic and sexist into that too? Now let's see if he explains it. If he leaves it alone, if he explains it, I'll continue watching. If he leaves that alone and just says that shit, we're done with this video.
That highway is a Jim Crow dog whistle for white supremacy, not to mention QAnon insurrections.
Yeah, we're done here. We're done here. Fuck Tucker Carlson. That's the end of that one.